Thank you.
I was struck by this, particularly the issue as she was having this conversation with her friend. If I wear these clothes, people will know not to touch me. If I wear these clothes, people will understand who I am. She wasn't converting to, let me put it a different way. There, there are Jews who convert to Judaism who don't convert to Orthodox Judaism. Is that true in Islam as well? That there are that there are gradations of practice, or is it a kind of either you're a religious person or you're a, I mean, do you have a category of secular Islam?
So what we have is we don't have a category of secular Islam. If a person is going to convert to Islam, they're probably not going to convert to secular Islam because there's no attraction in it. And if they're doing it, it's for the purposes of marriage because it's something that they have to do. And we've seen that in some instances where there is a seriousness on the part of one person. They say, listen, you have nothing, you don't believe in anything. At least convert to this so that we can be one unit, We can have some practice together or you can just follow me. But that's very rare. Usually there are really only three categories that I can see. One is people become hardcore Muslim. By hardcore, I mean almost on the fringe of they have an issue with their own background. They want to change their identity in and out. Everything. Like one day they'll have like clean hair, and the next day they'll be wearing a long beard, put on the thobe, get rid of the blue jeans, wear their pajamas this high, and start behaving like they're in 7th century Arabia. Well, we're 1400 years old. Things have changed. Not everybody dresses this way. So that's like usually people who is an outright rejection of whatever past they had. And usually they don't speak to their parents, they have troubled relationship with their parents. So that's one set of, and those are the ones that get in trouble. The Richard Reeds and the Shoe Bomber people, because they are very susceptible and to these people who recruit them. That's one batch. The second batch are people who come out of personal conviction. And there's a certain seriousness. They want to study, they want to learn, they're finding meaning in this religion. Then they embrace it very seriously. So, and those are the people that might choose to change their clothing or not change their clothing, not even change their name. Like I was very surprised that she took on his name. Why? As a Muslim woman, she doesn't have to take on his name. I mean, it's the one privilege we have. So I was like, wait, you're giving that up. So then there is another set of people which usually come from the mystic traditions. And they are really interested in spirituality. Very rarely do they change their appearance. They're focused on the inner and the spiritual path. They do believe in the practice. They do all the practices, but rarely you usually see them. The hair is uncovered. They are mystics. They really want to, be spiritually enlightened and find meaning in that. And but the Orthodox and the mystic, the Sufis, tend to be the ones that take the religion very seriously and adopt the various practices. But it depends on which company you fall into. So if you go to the mosque and the imam says, "Oh, you became a Muslim, you can't wear nail polish, you can't wear makeup, you got to wear this color hijab, you got to do this because you're so new, you're like a brand new baby, you don't know. You're going to nursery school, so you're going to learn from what your teachers tell you." So it depends on who your teachers are that you will adopt, whether you will adopt that clothing with the seriousness and yeah. Yeah, no, I think, um, can you use the mic so we can all hear? It seemed like it was the Sephardic Israeli culture. I didn't see that, but I may have missed that. Did anybody notice something specific Sephardic about the family? It didn't. Yeah, no, I don't think she was Sephardic. And in Carmiel, I don't, No.
I don't think she was Sephardic.
But what was it that you felt was so? I mean,
The house itself looked to me, it looked disorganized. I would say that's how,
Well, they
how it
weren't
was.
rich.
No, it had nothing to do with it. It wasn't, I'm not making a comment about their
seemed to be
socioeconomic standpoint. It
That
looked,
they were lower
it
middle
looked
class.
sort of, yes, but that doesn't mean that clothes are piled all over the place. And, it just looked a little chaotic to me. But I also agree with you that I found them spectacularly accepting. And I think that point is exactly correct.
But what was it about the family that you thought was some place she would want to get away from?
It I'm not sure I can actually articulate it more than I felt that, and I think she felt that. I think I was hearing that from her, that on the one hand, she clearly was completely devoted to her mother, and I didn't get a lot between her relationship with her and her father, but I didn't get any negative things about her and her father. She clearly loved her brothers. I think it was complicated. I don't want to overstate my feeling that it looked like a disorganized household to me, but it also looked like a very loving place. So it wasn't, that's why I said it earlier, that I don't think, I said what I meant to say, if I wasn't clear about it, was that you could view it. And I think lots of people tend to do that when people make these radical choices. There's no question that the choice that she's made was quite radical for that community, right? So you can ascribe all kinds of meanings to it, but I couldn't get a sense that it was, that I am not saying that she was leaving her house and like running away from what she had. I don't believe that. I'm curious, Daisy, if this movie was made about a Muslim converting to Judaism. Let's read the whole movie, differently. How would you have felt?
Um,
Still okay, whatever
Muslims,
path you take?
yeah, Muslims converting to Judaism is not such a problem. Muslims converting to Christianity is a problem because Judaism and Islam are pure monotheistic religions. So the belief in one God is the core principle of Islam. So this is where we can pray in each other's places. Jews can pray in a mosque, Muslims can pray in a synagogue. Our law says we can do that. So they have, as far as the Prophet was married to a Jewish woman. One of his wives was a Jewish woman. So it's not a problem. It doesn't happen that often. It's happened once. And it was a wedding that I was supposed to conduct because my husband wasn't available. It was a Jewish man and
that
a Muslim
happens
woman.
to you too?
Yeah, it happens to me. I'm picking up all these new responsibilities. And it was the daughter of a UN ambassador and very well-to-do, highly educated family. And it was very funny. She said, I'm not very religious, so I'm going to convert to Judaism. I said, really? I was shocked because usually Muslims don't convert to Judaism. Even though they may be marginal Muslims, they remain Muslims. And then she said, well, my husband told me that you guys don't need numbers. We need numbers. and my
This is
children
true.
and my children need to be Jewish. And we're 1.5 billion and nobody's going to miss my kids over there. And I said, you know what? That's a very good logic. The world needs more Jews. We don't need more Muslims, so it's okay. And I wound up conducting the marriage for them.
That's probably a wonderful, last question and then we'll stop.
I'm not sure how realistic any of what happened in this film is.
Well, it was real. It wasn't a movie, it was
No,
a documentary.
In terms of extrapolating
yes.
into a larger populace
Yeah.
than this one family. On the one hand, everybody in that Israeli family was accepting, okay? There was such wide acceptance, not that I disagree with it, but everybody was so accepting, it made me think how realistic that would be in terms of extrapolating. The second is we never felt, even though she found a place, and she found a place for herself in in the Islamic religion, we never felt any of her conflict. It's typical that even people who convert feel some degree of conflict in terms of family, guilt with parents,
Yeah.
guilt with that. So we never got in touch with any of that conflict. Third, we never understood if there were any feelings on his side of the family about him marrying a Jewish, woman who converted. There was just, everybody was sort of so accepting of where they were that it made me question how realistic, other than this family, this situation could really be.
I'll add that it was clearly a very unique situation, and hence a movie was made about it too. I think if it wasn't that unique, it wouldn't have made as good of a movie. But nevertheless, a true story that, by the way, is not the only one. I mean, it does happen, and it happens in different reasons and in different places in the world and in different ways. But even in Israel, it happens. Just a follow up on the film. The film was released at the Haifa Film Festival last year. Since then, she's had a baby. So the lineage continues for both
And
sides.
I just wanted to add to that. I know that this is a difficult situation in Israel, but here in the United States, in New York, where Jews and Muslims are meeting one another in colleges and universities and schools, there is absolutely no conflict. So people are marrying one another. We have a huge rise in Jewish-Muslim marriages, and it can be both ways: Jewish woman, Muslim man. So what I'm saying is that the religion is not the conflict; it's the political situation that's the conflict.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think, by the way, that you don't have to convert to Islam for that to happen. That is, if you grew up in Jericho in a Reform Jewish household and you become Lubavitch, right, and you change the way you dress and you change, for some families that's very profoundly complicated, right? So I think in some ways it just makes this particular story all the more extraordinary, right? And there is something that we can all learn from the level of love that these people clearly have for one another, despite the fact that this girl was, I think, really on a very strong spiritual path for herself.
I think that last scene, I think the bowling scene at the end, I think ending it with a bowling scene, which, I mean, it seems like the American dream family. They're sitting there, I was waiting for the picture perfect at the end where they all smile and show off their sweaters. It was showing that family and acceptance.
I found the Jewish family very profoundly being stretched, like moment by moment. They had to like embrace something big, and they were doing it. It was nice because it was very natural. The struggle was natural. First there's rejection, then there's, okay, tell me more about it, a little bit acceptance, and then there's love. Ultimately, they have to love their son-in-law because there's going to be grandchildren. They already said the pregnant trust was, so it's already a family. And I felt that it was very heartening to see, although they were struggling, how they were coming around to it. And because ultimately they are a family unit, they love one another. And her commitment to her family was very profound. Like, she wasn't going to marry some guy who was going to then create a conflict with her family. And I think that's what you saw, that commitment to keeping the family unit together. I think that's why she was not afraid to even marry a Muslim man, because she knows that a Muslim man would honor the family, So, thank you.
So right now, before I thank you guys, right now, screening downstairs is the story of a Druze man who married a Jewish woman and therefore cannot return to his Druze village because his children are considered non-Druze, and you cannot marry out in any which way. So I thought that was just an interesting connection. For those who still want to catch it, you can. Following this at 9:15, we have the screening of Under the Same Sun, about an Palestinian and an Israeli businessmen who attempt to work together. Tomorrow and throughout the week, a full day of films. Michael Moore will be here with Good Garbage at 3 p.m. Daisy, Joy, thank you so much for being here and really enlightening the film.
Thank you.
With a fabulous conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you both.